All right, it's been right at 30 minutes, just a little less. Oh, okay, judging by the water, yeah, I'd say we had some stuff happening. What do y'all think? Ooh. Yes, my friends, that's a skill to learn. So welcome back, everybody. In this box right here is something that I think every shop should probably have, and shame on me for not having one. I've known about these forever, and a recent mechanical problem got me thinking it was time for me to invest in one. So what am I talking about? An ultrasonic cleaner. And no, this is not sponsored, bought and paid for my own money, and I'll tell you how I decided to finally pick one of these up and what's taken me so long. This should be a handy tool to have for mechanical cleanup and repairs. So back behind me here is one of my inverter generators, and I actually leave this one out in my wood shop because I have solar out there. And I use it to charge up my solar batteries in the event that we have many, many days of no sunlight, say some rain or something, and well, my batteries just get weak. That recently happened after 4 days of rain and just no sun. That's very rare for us here in Florida. And here's the problem. This generator had sat pretty much a year inside that shop. And what do you think happened? Nothing. It won't run. Carburetor's clogged all up, even though I use non-ethanol in it. There's something I do not like about all these new generators. It's just not specific to this one. Even my really nice EcoFlow generators, for some reason now, the manufacturers use the fuel cutoff as the kill switch. I don't like that. And that's because when I have a small engine that's running, I like to have a fuel cutoff valve. I don't like for it to instantly kill the motor. My sawmill's the same way. Everybody seems to be going to that. When you have a fuel cutoff that does not kill the engine, it allows you to run the carburetor bowl empty so it doesn't wind up gumming up and giving you issues. Actually, I took this apart the other day, started dropping the fuel bowl, and sure enough, it was gummed up. I cleaned it out some, and then I decided either I need to get a brand new carb in, which is typically what I do because they're very affordable, or I need to clean this carb. So I put the bowl back on, figured, heck, let's make a video out of it. So typically I can pick up small engine carburetors for like 18 to 20 bucks from companies like, say, Hypa. I've done this pretty much always in the past, and as a result, I got a bin full of carburetors on equipment that maybe runs one time a year and occasionally just gets gummed up on me. But whenever I went to price out a cheap carburetor for this engine, couldn't find one nowhere. Actually, I was only able to find a carb in one spot, and I think it was about $60. Ouch, that's kind of a lot for a no-name carb. So I jumped on Vivor's website, again, not sponsored. I knew they sold ultrasonic cleaners, started looking around at different sizes, and I think I spent about a whopping $10 to $20 more on an ultrasonic cleaner than I did buying the carb for this. And now the beautiful thing is I can clean tools, rusty stuff with this, and I have so many old carbs that I save for spares, for generators, fire pumps, trash pumps, things such as that. Well, now I can start cleaning those, rebuilding them, putting them back in the box, and just writing cleaned on there. So if I ever need them in an emergency in the future, just go grab them. So it made sense to get into ultrasonic cleaning. Now I'm talking a big game here, assuming this is going to clean carburetors well. We're going to find out. So they have multiple different sizes, smaller ones than this, bigger ones. Ultimately, what I was concerned about was basket size and depth size. I wanted to make sure I got something that could handle a carburetor fully immersed in the cleaning solution and clean it properly. But I didn't want one so dadgum big that it just takes up more shop room. This seemed like the perfect size. So this is the basket where we put the materials, and if you're not familiar with ultrasonic cleaners, you'll put specialized solutions in there, a little water, a little detergent. These heat up the water itself or the cleaning solution, and they have an ultrasonic transmitter in there, maybe I'm saying it correctly, that works at certain frequency ranges that ultimately, well, kind of vibrates the materials loose. You can clean jewelry, all kinds of stuff in here, but they supposedly work very, very well, and they're perfect for getting inside tiny orifices inside of carburetors that, well, we just can't get to. So between the cleaning solution and the ultrasonic frequencies going through to break the gunk and material up, this is supposed to be something really probably every shop should have, especially if you do small engine repair, mechanical stuff, or clean up tools, things such as that. We'll plug it in, let it heat up, but ultimately, well, we gotta get the carburetor out of this generator. I have tried and tried and tried, cannot get it to crank. And like I said, I've seen slime and gunk all in the carburetor bowl itself, which lets me know it's also internally in the carburetor, and a good way to clean it, I think it's gonna be this. We'll reassemble it and see if it starts. All right, first things first, let's get the fuel out of here, and it is clean fuel. I just put it in here not long ago. And I was trying to get this running, and then we'll drain the rest out. All right, so the next thing to do, if you're not familiar with carburetors, most of them have a bowl. This is the bowl that has the gunk in it and a float in there that cuts off your fuel level. Typically, they have a little drain screw. This one comes with a nice hose, so I just put it in this tank, cracked it, drained the carburetor out before we start popping everything loose. Just that much less of a mess that we have on the workbench. Okay, gonna be hard to show some of this stuff, but obviously tubes that go into the carburetor like this with spring-loaded clamps, we gotta take those off. Carburetors are typically held in with two 10mm bolts on small carbs. One here and one right there. It'll be a little difficult to get to. Then we can remove this off and actually slide the carb out. You can see we got a throttle linkage right there, and this has some sort of actuator on top too, either choke or that may be exactly what I was just explaining to you. That push button probably controls the eco mode via this little actuator. So this is definitely a different type of carb than I'm used to. Get a few of these hoses off, but nothing overly complicated. It's just gonna be hard to show some of this on camera. Another really smart thing to do if you're kind of new to working on carbs, otherwise they're all somewhat similar, other than these few little things that I just showed you. Snap a picture with your phone before you start taking stuff apart, and then it's quite easy to see how to put it back together. There's not that many parts that we'll be fooling around with. Now when we open it up, there'll be a few parts that'll come out. Another good time to snap a picture before we start before we start taking things like the float apart and little needle valves, stuff like that. But nothing's overly complicated here, especially after you do a few of these. All right, so I had to wind up popping the front cover off to get me enough room to pull the carburetor out, but see that slimy, nasty gunk in there? Yeah, that's the mess that's plugging me up, and I'd already cleaned some of this out. So chances are that's everywhere inside. So this is our float right here that cuts the fuel off from entering the carb and not basically overflowing and draining your tank. And it's got a little pin that slides out right here, along with a spring, and then there should be a jet or a plug underneath right there, whatever you want to call it. I don't know all the proper terminology, but I've been in enough of these, I'm confident to pull some parts out like that pin. Now you can see where that little plunger right there hangs on. That's a very important piece. Oh yeah, look at that gunk right there. Mess. Nastiness, no telling what we got going on in here. So we're gonna start pulling all these little orifices and jets and stuff out, blowing everything out as best we can. Get our gaskets off. And all this is gonna go in and get cleaned. We've taken pretty much everything off that we need to. So see, there's orifices down in there, down in here, right there. And then there's passageways all through the carburetor. So any of those passageways could be plugged. Should probably be wearing glasses so I don't get fuel blown all in my eyes. That one actually feels like it might be. All right, I can feel air blowing out the other side with that orifice. The fuel in blows out here, goes into the fuel bowl. I've seen fuel blow out there. That I can feel blowing air out by the butterfly. But this orifice right here, I don't feel air going anywhere, and it's kind of blowing back against me like that. It's plugged. All right, let's get our carburetor and all parts we want to clean. Like, I'm not going to clean gaskets and stuff. That don't make no sense. The float, well, it's going to float. It's not going to submerge, so we're not going to clean that. I'll clean that in the sink with gasoline, actually. It's a great cleaner. See if there's anything else that needs to go in here. It doesn't look like it. And the cool thing I noticed about this pan, it comes with a tiny little screen right here, which is brilliant, that you can close and clasp, lock. Check this out. All these little screws. A little plunger. A rod, which looks clean, but whatever, we'll throw it in there. All little parts like that we can throw in there and not lose them. All right, now we can just hook that on the basket. That's pretty cool. Okay, let me read the instructions real quick. Figure out the solution that we're gonna put in here. Plug it in. I mean, it looks straightforward. And I bought this ultrasonic cleaner. You don't use this straight. It says makes 8 gallons, so you dilute water down. And then I've heard of some people, if you do a light cleaning, they'll actually drain this out already pre-mixed into an empty container, like say a windshield washer container or something, save it for another cleaning. And I've heard of some people also putting a little bit of dish soap in here or some degreaser, like say Super Clean. I actually have some concentrated Super Clean. I bet you that's about what this is. I probably should have used that instead of buying this. So I see lots of different people recommending different ways to fill these up. But let me see what the manual says, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here's our solution mixed up. Couldn't quite get up to a full pail since it's foaming on me, and it smells just like a degreaser. Hopefully that's enough to get my carburetor covered. Wish it wasn't foaming up so bad so I could see what the heck is going on. Okay. Now we'll drop our carburetor down in there. Good, that completely covers it. This old nasty fuel bowl. All right, so there's a before, gunky, slimy, nasty buildup mess. That's what's probably internal in the carb. Can't wait to see how that turns out. And I'm just gonna start with just this cleaning solution. Says it'll take care of it, we'll see. All right, on off switch back and front. Of course, everything's in Celsius, but I'm gonna go to a higher temp, I guess. Already got hot water in there. 30 minutes sounds good according to online, what I just read. Whoa, listen to that. Is that a normal sound? I don't know why I was thinking you couldn't hear this, but I certainly can. All right, so that's been going for a little bit. The lid's nice and hot. Let's see what we got going on in here. So as you can see, we're now down to just, well, I fogged up the camera with the steam. But see all the tiny bubbles? The reason it's milky is because of that frequency, that sonic frequency going all through the water. I bet if I cut it off, it's been going a while. Wonder how long it'll take to clear up. While that water's cooling down and clearing up, let's go ahead and pull the parts basket out and see if we can tell a difference. Ooh, hang on. That's pretty hot. I did turn the temperature on up for a little deeper cleaning, but y'all, look at that. That cup is spotless. Or the bowl, I should say. That did a wonderful job on getting that gunk out of there. Bottom side of the carburetor, remember it was all gunked up right there. Clean as could be. Wow, that's hot. Yeah, I'm gonna have to let that cool off for a little while, but y'all, super clean. So we'll let everything air dry in front of the fan, and then I'm gonna go blow all the orifices out, because the last thing we want is degreaser and moisture in there. Get everything nice and super dry, and then we can reassemble it and pray this thing actually cranks up. Okay, so just like I figured it would, it did clean up. And yeah, there is bits and pieces of crud everywhere. Hopefully y'all can see all that. We'll choke this. I'll go ahead and put eco mode on. Fuel is on. Fingers crossed. Oh. Yes, my friends. That's a skill to learn. That fired up and is purring great. Awesome. All right, eco mode button's working. That means I got my actuator back right. And that, my friends, is how it's done. Yes. I wouldn't call that a skill, sonic cleaning, but an awesome tool to help with the skill of, well, small engine repair. I love being able to work on things myself. I'm not scared to dive into this type of stuff, self-taught, but after you work on enough small carburetors over the years, they're kind of all the same, from weed eaters to small generators, trash pumps, you name it. Chainsaws, they're very straightforward. This is actually one of the more complicated carbs I've ever worked on, just because it's got the actuators and stuff on top, and there's nothing to it. Okay, I think this was a very wise purchase for me. Not gonna take up much shelf space. I should have bought one of these a long time ago. If you're interested in it, I'll put a link in the description. They have huge models, small models. Again, not sponsored, bought and paid for my own money, but I will put an affiliate link down there so I can earn, well, what, $1 or $2 if you buy one of these? The jury's out on the degreaser solution I use. I think I'm just gonna continue to use something like Mean Green or my Super Clean. That stuff's very powerful. I think it'll do exactly the same thing. You know, one thing that I forgot to mention, you're supposed to use distilled water in this. I just remembered that. I completely forgot. And I've got a distilled water maker from Vivor, of all things. We use it for CPAP machines and things like that. So, oops, I think I am gonna dump that water, not save it. That's gonna keep you from having mineral and scale buildup in the future. So let me dump this pan real quick, clean it out and dry it, and then I gotta remember in the future, distilled water, which we always keep jugs up on the hand anyways, so keep that in mind. I completely forgot. This is a cool tool to have. Thanks for watching, catch you on the next one. All right, if y'all stuck around, a little bonus footage. Let's keep playing around with this before I dump the solution. Here's how it works on, that is all rust, by the way. On the numbers, old rusty sockets. This one's got a lot of rust on it. I wonder if we can clean stuff up like that. It doesn't have to be just for carburetor cleaning. See the rust and all on that? This would be good for cleaning tools, gun parts, things like that. Throw this bad boy in there. We'll go ahead and turn the heat on. I think I'm gonna let it warm up for a while before I turn the Sonic on, because right now, well, water's been cooled down a lot. All right, it's been right at 30 minutes, just a little less. Let's pull this stuff out and take a look. Better grab some gloves, because that's gonna be hot. Oh, okay, judging by the water, ugh. Yeah, I'd say we had some stuff happening. What do y'all think? Oh boy. Oh boy. Now the big socket that was covered in a lot of rust and some grease, I could have probably let that go a little longer. Actually, I don't know. It's already taken down, you know, a lot of the paint is gone, or that kind of weird black coating. That looks so much better. That looks great. Tiny little bit of rust on the 16 millimeter. So yeah, maybe could have went a little longer, but y'all look at this. That looks like a brand new socket. That's what they went in as. That's what it come out as. Well, I said socket, star bit, how about that? I guess it's still a socket. Holy smokes. That's a big difference. Yeah, there was greasing all on the end on this. Oh man. Okay. This does a fantastic job of cleaning up tools.